It is good to see y'all this evening. Get out in the heat and then back into the air conditioning. I guess it was probably a week or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. Annie and I, we were watching The Wizard of Oz, the first one. And I'm sure that y'all have seen that, right? The Wizard of Oz, maybe a few times, at least. I don't know if y'all know, that was actually produced in 1939. 1939. And it gets viewers, of all ages as they travel with Dorothy and her company down the yellow brick road and, to see the great and powerful Oz, right? When they finally get there to meet him, the wizard, they find him to be very ill-tempered. He's got a poor attitude. He's mean. He's cruel. He is this raging ball of fire and smoke, if you remember it. And he insults them. He yells at them and scares them half to death, especially the cowardly lion who just passes out, right? From the terror that he has about Oz. But do you see in that movie how that is how some people see God? That's the image that they frame of God, is Oz representing him, the negative way that he's depicted in the initial encounter with him is so much how people understand as to who he is, their concept of God. He's mean, he's angry, you always have to walk around on eggshells around him. He thinks that I'm a burden, or that you're a burden, or a loser, and he's someone that we can't get close to and share with, or really have any type of personal relationship with. And who is little old us? If you remember toward the beginning of their journey, it was a matter of, who is he that he's going to see me? He's not going to see me. He doesn't care about me. And get there, and they've got that built up, and then that's how he kind of displays himself to them. And that's the idea, the image that a lot of people have of God. Is that, who is God? He's, based on what I know, he's full of wrath and vengeance, and maybe he's someone that I don't want to get close to. I don't want to be close to that, but that he's someone to be afraid of. And I'm not talking about a godly fear. I'm not talking about a reverence, but a panicking, anxiety-induced fear is what they have. But God is not the angry wizard from Oz, right? He's more of the father in the story of the prodigal son. That those who have sinned against God, they find their way back to him. And he's not standoffish. He doesn't yell at him or insult him or anything. In fact, he runs out to meet him. And part of the reason that he did that was for his son's own protection. Because of him bringing shame on the household, he would have been ridiculed and maybe even assaulted by people in the town if they had recognized him. So it wasn't just a matter of, I'm happy to see you, but it was also a way of protecting him, of not making him take the entire journey himself. But I'm going to go out there, I'm going to greet him, I am going to protect him, and I am going to bring him home. He doesn't call him names. He doesn't say, you wasted everything that I gave you. He doesn't say, you're a loser, your brother's not like it. Why couldn't you be more like your brother? He's not anything like that. He kills the fatted calf instead of the scrawny chicken. He puts a robe on him and a ring, and he's telling everybody to rejoice because his son has returned home. See, the true God, again, not the depiction that a lot of people have in their minds of this angry God, not to those that are in Christ. right? There is certainly a time of vengeance, a time of justice. And that day will come whenever God says that it will. But the true God, it's a celebration of life. Who does God look like to you? In your own personal life, does he seem distant? Does he seem as though he doesn't care? Or is he the loving Father who says, you know what? No matter how bad you mess up, I'm there. And if we think about the prodigal, the father didn't even say, no matter how bad you mess up, I'm there. He was just there. Not throwing it in his face. God's not going to throw it in your face. I've had people throw plenty of things that I've done in my past in my face. God never has, though. I'm confronted with it through a study of his word. Jesus said there in John 8 and verse 32, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And without a doubt, the greatest truth that you could ever learn, that I could ever learn, is about the person of God. A.W. Tozer, he once said that what comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. How you view God. And God tells us a little bit over in Exodus 34. He gives some description. It says there that the Lord passed by in front of him, talking about Moses, and proclaimed the Lord God, compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in loving kindness and truth, who keeps loving kindness for thousands, who forgives iniquity, transgression, and sin. Yet he will by no means leave the guilty unpunished. Now, there are some people, they want to ask, well, what does God look like? Right? You see it pictured in kids' cartoons, especially maybe the old Tom and Jerry or something, when that cat, he was always going to hell. I don't think he ever made it to heaven once, but God was the big robe figure, the long white beard, and all of that. But we have to understand how the Bible portrays God. The first thing, there's 4 characteristics of God. The first is that God is spirit. God is spirit. Jesus described him in this manner in John 4, verses 23 and 24. Said the hour is coming and is now here when God, he's looking for those people to worship him in spirit and in truth. It says God is spirit. It doesn't say he is a spirit. God is spirit. That is who he is. Spirit is his nature. He's not a physical being. And because God has no physical form, the people of Israel, they were actually forbidden to make images of him. Over in Exodus 20, with the 10 Commandments we have there, it says, you shall not make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the water under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. So the first thing is that God is spirit. Not a spirit, but he is spirit. That is his nature. The second thing is that God is light. The Bible says that God is light over in 1 John 1 and verse 5. And it's a message that we've heard from him and announced that God is light and in him there is no darkness. This can refer to the glory and majesty of God. Now, again, notice that the Bible doesn't say that God has light. God is light. The Bible says that he will bring about in the proper time. This is over in 1 Timothy 6, verses 15 and 16. says he will bring about at the proper time. He who is the blessed and only sovereign, the King of kings and Lord of lords, who alone possesses immortality and dwells in inapproachable or unapproachable light, whom no man has seen or can see. To him be honor and eternal dominion. Amen. That unapproachable light, it's simply a blinding light. It's the glory and the righteousness and the majesty of God. God is approachable for those who would come to him. Others are blinded by their own sin instead of being blinded by the glory of the Father. And that blindness, it's a matter of not seeing anything else, of only focusing on him. God is spirit, God is light, God is love. Come to know and have believed the love which God has for us. God is love, and the one who abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. 1 John 4 and verse 16. Love involves other attributes, though. Love involves mercy. It involves grace. It involves kindness. But even though God is spirit, God is light, and God is love, God is as a consuming fire. Our God is as a consuming fire, Hebrews 12 and verse 29. I think that's interesting that God doesn't have a spirit, God is spirit. God doesn't have a light, God is light. God is love. But as far as a consuming fire is concerned, he is like a consuming fire. Not he is a consuming fire. Fire is not God. God is like fire. And the analogy, it really refers to the holiness and absolute righteousness again of God's nature, and it's a frequent symbol of God. Fire is frequently used as a symbol of God and his judgment against sin. The smoking firepot and the flaming torch. There in Genesis 15 and verse 17, as the sun went down and it became dark, Abram saw a smoking firepot and a flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcasses, representing God. The incident at the burning bush that we're all familiar with. Elijah and the altar of fire. There's so many people that they want to try to define who God is. And they want to use it based off of man-made terms and visuals and what have you. How do we look at God in our own lives? Do we see him as the angry wizard, just hurling out insults and not wanting anybody? Or do we see him as light? Do we see him as love? Do we see him as spirit? Knowing that there is a time that he is appointed to judge the world in righteousness through Christ, because all judgment has been given over to the Son. As you go through the week, what does your relationship with God look like? Because it is a two-way relationship. Make no mistake about it. You're there and he's there. He will always be there. He is constant. We're the ones that tend to drift one way or the other. What are you doing to try to stay close to God? To live your life in the shadow of the cross? I hope that as you go through this week, that you will take a sincere look at your personal standing. Because there's a habit among Christians even to say that I'm a baptized believer, I've been added to the Lord's church. That's all there is to it. I don't necessarily need to do anything else. And I get up here and I say it all the time, meditate on it, think about it, study the Bible, but really, and I don't know if you do this or not, I don't think I've ever polled anybody afterwards and said, Okay, how many of you read your Bibles every day, or how many do this? That might be a good idea, to maybe take a count every Sunday morning on daily Bible readers. Some people might raise their hands, I read my Bible every day this week. Other people, they might be a little bit of ashamed, and I don't know, maybe they'd be shamed into reading their Bible every day. Not a clue. But just as you go through this week, consider the image of God that you have in your own minds and the relationship that you have toward him. Dorothy and her companions, when they started off on the yellow brick road, there was the idea that he's not going to want to see us. He doesn't want anything to do with us. But still, they persisted and got there. And they were confronted with exactly what they thought, the image of him. But it turns out that the image that they had of him wasn't really who he was. It was all smoke and mirrors. I don't care if you've been on your journey for 5 minutes or 50 years. Keep pace. Keep going with the journey. Confront the image of God that you have in your own minds and ask yourself, is it what he says he is? Or have I not been thinking of the God of the Bible the entire time? If there's anything that we can do, pray with you or for you or talk afterwards, and then please just get with me or someone as together we stand and sing.